Hello and welcome to our 7th session in this object mode, and in this mode we are going to explore some more additional components that we can add in Blender as a primitive. Now coming back to Blender here, I have opened a new file. Now here I will select the cube, press X and I am going to delete it. I will press Shift A and in mesh I am going to now add a icosphere. I will just zoom it a little, press 1 and come into the front view. Now coming into this add curve, you have another feature here called as empty hair. And when I click on this empty hair, you see nothing happening over here. But in the properties panel, you see a curve icon in the data and this has added curves here. And if you come into icosphere, a component called curve is added. And now to explore this, I have to come into the sculpt mode, and in sculpt mode now you can see these brushes have changed into hair. So the very first brush is the add brush. Using it, I can drag on the side like this. Say for example, if this is a human, I can just draw a beard for this man like this. And then the second is I can subtract and remove it. The next tool here is the density. I can control the density of this over here. And similarly, if I want a mustache, I can just drag it here and add a mustache like this. Now the next tool I have is the comb tool, using which I can comb this hair like this. So I can comb the hair like this and give it a shape. So I can give a shape like this. Now actually you have other tools also. We are going to explore it later. But actually when you install Blender 4.2, automatically in Blender, some hair presets and geometry nodes will be added. To explore it, bring the mouse here and when it becomes a double arrow, drag it and make it bigger. Now I will click here and instead of timeline, I am now going to use asset browser. And in asset browser, you can see so many hair presets and geometry nodes available here. Say for example, I select this node and if I drag it here, you can see how the hair is going to behave. So I can drag it and make it like this. So I can control it all the hair like this. See, I can add it. So you have various presets. So this is another preset using which I can control how the hair responds. So you have so many presets here to control. Okay, we are going to explore these things later, but just an introduction has been given to you about this. Now I will come back here and change this from asset browser back to timeline, and now here I will come back to object mode and then I will select this curve, press X and delete it. I will select this icosphere again, and if I come to add curve and if I choose fur, you see another curves is added inside the icosphere here, and now you can see a haired structure is created all around my surface. Say for example, if you want to make a tennis ball, I will press click somewhere here and deselect it and show it to you. So this will appear like a tennis ball. Now I can press tab and come into edit mode, and I can press A to select everything, and now pressing G I can move it like this, or I will right click and cancel it. I will press R and I can rotate it like this. See, like this. I will press right click and I will cancel it. Press X and I can even scale it. I will come back here to object mode and I will press X and delete it off. I will delete the fur also. I will come into add mesh and I will add a plane, and on this plane again if I apply this curve fur, now you can see that you can convert this into a garden or a grass. So this will appear like a grass. Again I will press tab, I will select this, press X and delete. I will also select this plane, press X and delete, and I will just drag it down and make this area bigger, and I will press 1 and come into the front view. And the next object we are going to discuss is about the surfaces. So what are the surfaces means? Just like NURB curves, in surface also you have a NURB curve, and in this NURBS curve, when I click on it, this curve, if I press 7 and come to the top view, and if I zoom out, see, this is a normal curve like a NURB curve, and if I press tab, you can see the control point using which you can edit it. Say for example, I can click here and press E on the keyboard and drag it like this to create a curve like this. Then I will click here, press E and drag it like this to create a curve like this. If required, I will select it, press G and move it down like this till this line. And now if I press tab, in case of this surface curve, if I come into edit mode, I will press A to select everything, and then in surface you have an option called spin, and when I click on spin now, see, it gets spinned, and if I open this, right now it is spinned in Z axis. I will set it back to 0, and I am going to spin it along the Y axis, setting it to 1. So now you can see this appears with this structure, but if I spin it along the X axis, in X I will set it 1, and again this will appear something like a vase. So I can spin and create the surfaces here, and I will press tab, and see, this is the structure we have created. So I will press X and I will delete it. I will again press 1 and come into the front view. I will again come into add surface, and I will add a NURBS circle, and again in this case I will press 7 and come into the top view, press tab, and again you have this control points. I will press A to select everything. I will come to surface. If I spin it now, you can now see this got spinned like a sphere. And similarly, now if I, instead of spinning it by Y, if I spin it along the X, see, you have a different structure. So I can create the structures like this. I will press tab, come into object mode, press X, and I will delete it. And then the next surface I have here is the NURB surface, the third one. And when I click on NURB surface and press on 1 and come here, you get a surface like this, a very curved and smooth surface. You can use these type of surfaces to build the body of a car. So you can make use of this. I will select this, press tab, and I will press 1 and come into the front view, and now I can select these 2 points, press G and move it like this. I will select these 2 points, press G and move it, then press E and move it down like this, so I can control it. I will select here, press E, add another extension, and I can drag it like this. Press 7 and come to the top. I can select these lines, press G and move it along Y like this. Press this area, press G and move it along Y like this. So like this, I can create a curved surface, and if I press tab, see, you can customize this and create different surfaces like this. I will press X and delete it. Now the next thing I have here in the surface is the NURBS cylinder. So when I click on NURBS cylinder, if I press tab, here also I have this control point, and using this control point, I will select this control point, I will press G and move it. So I can create different shapes like this. I will press X and I will delete it. Then apart from this, in surface I also have NURB sphere. Again, if I press tab, see how the control points are placed in a NURB sphere. Okay, so this is just for you to explore. I will come to top view and I will select a particular area over here, and one tool I will just show it to you. I will come to this later. You have one proportionate tool here, and if I press G, you are going to see a circle. I will roll the mouse and make the circle bigger, and if I drag it, see, this is going to drag all the area proportionately. So I will drag it, off it. I will come to this tool later. So I can proportionately drag it and create shapes like this. So I will select this, press X and delete, and finally in NURBS surfaces I also have a torus. And even in torus, if I press tab and if I press 7 and come here, this is the structure I have. I can select these points, enable again this proportional editing, then press G and move it like this so that the entire thing proportional. So if I roll the mouse, the influence in this proportion is going to change. I can create a shape like this, and all these are NURBS surfaces. So I will select this and press X and delete. I will again press 1 and come into the front view. And now the next option, very interesting option, is this Metaballs, and I am going to add one ball. And when I add this ball, in the parameter you can control its radius here, and apart from this, here you can set its resolution with it 0.4. If I make it 1, see the resolution changes. If I make it 0.2, this will be more roundish. Then you have the influence area. See what this influence area determines is, right now I will set it back to 0.6. See, now I have one metaball here. I am going to next move it up, and I am next going to go to add, and in metaball I am going to add a capsule. And when this capsule is added, I will press R, and along the Y axis I will rotate it like this, and then with G I will pull it down, and you can see how it is sticking to this old object. So I can use it to create a rough surface. Say for example, I want to sculpt a human body. So I can create a rough human body by just moving it like this. I will just press S and scale it down like this. I will press G, Z and move it up like this. So I got the head, I got the neck. Then I will go to add, and in Metaball, next I am going to add a plane. And plane, when I add it, you get something like this. So I will again press G, Z and move it down like this. So this is the body. I will press scale, and along the Z axis I will scale it, and then I will roll the mouse, press G, Z and move it down a little like this. So I got a body structure like this. See, you got a body structure. I will set S scale, and along the Y axis I will scale it down a little. So I got a structure like this. I will press 1 and come into the front view. Next again I will come into add, and I will add ellipsoid. I will select this, and again I will press G and drag it, and I am going to press R and rotate it like this, and I will bring it here, and I will press S, Z and I am going to scale it down like this. Then I will press R and rotate it like slightly like this. So I will rotate it so that I get something like a hand here. If required, I will press S, X and I will scale it up like this. With G, I will move it. So I got a structure like this. I will press Alt D and duplicate it, move it on the other side, and again here I will press R and I will rotate it, press G and move it over here. And then I have to add the legs. I will select this, and then I will come into add object, and next I have Metaball. I have is the cube. I will select the cube, press G and bring it down here. I will press S and scale it down, and I will press G, Z and move it to the top like this, and I am going to create an area wherein I am going to actually put my legs. So I will press S, X and I will slightly scale it like this, and then I will just duplicate this, or I will go to add Metaball and I am going to add a capsule, press G and bring it down, press R and along the Y axis rotate it like this, press S and scale it down, press G and bring it over here at this point, press S and along the Z axis scale it and make it long, and keep it like this. So this is the leg. I got the leg like this. So if required, I will press G and Y and move it to the forward like this. Then I will again press Alt D and duplicate it. I will move it here. Press R and rotate it. I will press 1 and come into the front view, and I will press R and rotate it like this. Press G and move it like this. So now I got some structure like this, and using this structure later on I sculpt my hand, face, legs, everything I can sculpt it. So now what I want you to do is use this metaball and create either a human structure, dog structure, or a duck. I want you to create some structure by making use of this metaball. And after you create it, go to File, Save As. In your Blender work folder, I am now going to give it the name as 7_metaball human. I am going to give the name, and I am going to, as an assignment, I want you to create a metabolic structure for sculpting, a rough structure of either a human or a dog or a duck or a bird like this, and I want you to save it and submit as an assignment. I will come to New General and I am going to create a new file. How are we going to add 3D text in Blender? So for that, I will select this cube, press X and I will delete it. Press Shift A and I am going to now add the text component. And when I click on the text component and if I press 7, you are going to see it from the top view. And the parameters of this text are present over here. See, you can see here the parameter of your text. You have various parameters. You have resolution, render resolution. So all this leave as it is. But the most important thing is the font. So what is the font that you are going to use? So for regular, bold, italic and all this, you can choose the font. You have a folder icon here. Actually, in Edit Preferences, in this File Paths, we have set the font folder path to see Windows fonts. So, because of that, when I click on this folder, it will automatically come to the fonts folder. And now here I can select, I will come here, search, and I am going to search for this Futura font, and I click open, and now that font will be used here. Next is the size. See, in the size, I want you to set the size. Don't keep it 1. It will become blurred when you scale it. So I want the size of this text to set to around something like 24. But you can see it's very huge. We can later on scale it down. So I have set this to 24, and then I will open this. See, it has been scaled to 33 meters. So I will now press yes and scale it down so that this is something in the range of 3 meters, 3 to 8 meters, like that, in that range. And then I have to apply this. See, as of now the scale is set to 0.2. I will press Ctrl A, and if I click and if I say apply scale, this will be the one scale over here. Scroll down, here is the alignment. I can make it center aligned, and to type the text, press Tab, and here I am going to type my name. Say for example, I type here Sudhindra, and I will press Tab again. But now this name is a plain. See, I want to convert this name into a 3D. So to convert it into 3D, we are going to come into this geometry menu. And in this geometry menu, say for example, I will press 3. Actually, it's in the top view now. What I will do is, I will press R, rotate, I will press X90 and press enter, so that when I press numpad 1, in the front view you are seeing the name. Now after this, I will come into extrude here, and I will press 3 and come into the side view. Right now this doesn't have any thickness, and as I click on this extrude button, as I extrude it, see, I am adding thickness here. So I have added some thickness to it. And after adding thickness to it, say I want these edges to be beveled. Then you have another option here called bevel, and if I set bevel, see how the edges becomes soft. I can even bevel it a little more. So I got a structure like this. So my name is now immediately converted into a 3D object. Say I want this text to be placed in a circular, then I can go to add curve and I am going to add a circle. I am going to add a circle. I will press RX90 and press enter. Then I will press yes and I will scale it up like this. And after scaling it, I am now going to select my name and I will come over here and for this bezier curve, I am going to give it the name as name path, and for this text I am going to call it as txt underscore Sudhindra. Select this text and then come over here in text on curve. I will click here and I will select this. Now I can select this name path, scale it down, and I can control the. I am going to come over here in the material and I am going to click new and I am going to call this as Sudhi material, and then I am going to give it some color. Say for example, I click here and I add, you choose any of the color here, and after you choose the color, the next thing is here, and I will make it metallic. I will increase the metallicness and I will decrease the roughness. And now if I come to this shaded view now, you can now see your name appearing like a steel material. See, change the this color is okay. So or I will even make it green. You give a different color. So I got the name here, and after the name, say for example, I want this name around a globe. So I can press Shift A, come to mesh, and I am going to add an UV sphere, press S and scale it up like this. And for this also I am going to give the same metallic material. I will right click and choose shade smooth. So now you got a structure like this. This is what the angle I wanted to render. I will set the render angle. This is the camera. I will come to view, align view, and I am going to say set active camera to view, and then I will open this and I will come into this view, enable camera to view, and I will slightly zoom it with shift and middle mouse. I pan it and adjust the position, and then I will switch this off. And now if I come to render and if I render the image, you are seeing this image getting rendered. So for lighting, I am going to show you how to add an environment light. To add an environment light, I am now going to come into world, and in the world menu selected, I will come to shading. See that here world is selected, and then in world I am going to use nodes is on. I will press Shift A, and here I am going to go and search for sky texture. So I will select this sky texture and I am going to drag this sky texture and attach it to this. Strength is set to 1, and now if I come to layout and if I now come to render and if I render the image, you can see it is appearing in sunlight. As of now it is in EV. I will change it to cycles, and if I come to film and if I see here you have exposure, I will change the exposure to something like 0.6. I will come back to shading here and I will reduce this strength here. See, it is 1. I will set it to around 0.6, and you have sun size here. I can reduce the sun size to around 0.2. As I am doing it, I will come into the render so that I can see the effect. See, I reduce the sun size, and also sun elevation is 15 degrees. I can move the sun to the top like this, I can move the sun. See, I can control, and I will keep it at this level,
and I will also reduce the strength to around 0.4. Now if I come to layout here, and now so after this, now go to file, choose save as, and you come to your folder, and in your folder give this name as 08 underscore my name in 3D. Give it a name like this and save this. Come to render, and in the render setting here I am going to set the sampling to just 256, and I am going to enable this denoise. So denoise in render is already enabled. I will save this. Now I will render. So now this will be rendered fast because you have only 256 sample. Wait till these 256 samples are rendered. Okay, now the render is done. Now go to image, save as, and you save this image. Give this a name, so you can save it as PNG or you can even save it as JPEG. You give it the name as my name in 3D and save this image. I want you to submit this image in the Blender assignment and also upload even this Blender file. If you are able to upload it and share this as an assignment. So in our next session, we are going to discuss about the volume lighting, lattice, and about the armature. So for that, let us meet in the next session. Thank you.